Welcome, everyone, to the Everything Show, episode 637. I am your host, Matrixlord212, and I'm with Chris. What's up, Chris?
Hey, what's up?
Okay, so what do we have?
Well, first, I just wanted to talk about, there was a theory about Godzilla 2, Kong Skull Island, and then Godzilla vs. Kong. I was watching a live stream, pretty good live stream, and the hosts were basically talking about the future of the legendary Godzilla series. It had nothing to do with Shin Gojira. They talked about Shin Gojira, but not during this part of the show. And one of the hosts said he thinks what they're going to do with Skull Island, because Gareth Edwards wanted to do a Monster Island concept for a Godzilla sequel.
Okay.
He thinks what they're going to do is they're going to make Skull Island into Monster Island.
Oh.
And that will serve as the Monster Island for the Legendary universe. And I actually think that is a very good possibility, and I would actually like if they did that, because I think it would make more sense than having two islands full of giant monsters, because we know that that Skull Island, from what we heard, is going to have more creatures on it than just Kong. So I believe that it would make sense, and it might actually play into how Godzilla and Kong maybe meet and fight. If maybe, the Kong species has some sort of history with the Godzilla species, or with Godzilla himself, if he's one of a kind. And I would actually be okay with that, because there's a chance that we might see new monsters, and in my opinion, I would rather Godzilla and Kong fight on an island like that rather than in a city.
Right. Let me ask you a question now. So is that Godzilla's technically his home, or no?
We don't know.
Okay.
In the prequel comic that Legendary made, where I don't know if it's canon, I think it is. It's called Godzilla Awakening. Godzilla's territory was basically the entire planet. He roamed the supercontinent during the dinosaur era. He fought another Muto. He survived the extinction level events since before the dinosaurs. And there was only one Godzilla. I don't remember ever seeing more than one Godzilla. But I don't think that he's limited to one island.
Right.
But I don't know.
Isn't he like regenerating where he doesn't age?
Actually, we don't even know if this Godzilla has any regenerative powers, or regenerative powers, I should say. I believe he does, because in order to survive the things he survived, it would make sense.
Right.
However, they could go the route that he's just exceptionally durable, and he can just survive so many things. And actually, when you really think about it, it makes sense, because a creature of this size would have to be able to withstand
everything,
amounts of or devastating environments and huge amounts of things. If he's able to survive nukes, asteroids, things going to, like, they said in the movie that he goes to the Earth's core basically to absorb radiation. So I don't think anything on Earth that we think about would be able to get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? And maybe the way I always think about Godzilla is, since he's a nuclear-based creature, I think of like the half-life of like uranium-235 is like 5,000 something years. So when you really think about how much radiation he absorbs, maybe you think of his half-life multiplied by how much he absorbs, which could be billions of years possibly.
Right.
So that's the way I think of it. But I don't know. It's interesting to think about what they could do with this Godzilla.
So American Godzilla, it's been around since the dinosaurs.
Before that.
Before the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But the original Godzilla was created because of a nuclear blast, right? Or
yeah, the Toho Godzilla was a nuclear mutation, but the legendary Godzilla, since they wanted to ground it more, is a naturally occurring species that's just nuclear in nature.
And he can't replicate because there's nothing else like him?
Yeah, basically that's what it looks like, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. But we know for a fact, though, that the Kong species is not one of a kind. in this
Okay.
universe. We see bones of other Kongs, at least one other Kong.
But the biggest one would be the leader.
I would assume that's probably what we're looking at. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Because it's like the survival of the fittest, like the lions battle each other to see who's the leader, right? So
Yeah, and you know what it could be too. The Kong that we see in Skull Island may be the last of its kind because it's just the strongest one, like you said, and it's able to survive. You know,
right.
maybe the environment of Skull Island allows for multiple versions of other species, but only one Kong at a time.
Or maybe the Mutos wiped out the other Kongs and there's one left.
That's
Maybe.
possible too.
And that will cause like a whole new,
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
And it's true that the rumor that the expedition team that goes to Skull Island in Kong Skull Island, the rumor is that they're looking for some sort of substance on the island. I think that could be the key to why Kong's so big, why the creatures are so big, and maybe, like I said, why they're going there in the first place. The rumor is that they're looking for something called Titan.
Tight?
Yeah.
What's that?
I guess it's some sort of substance. I don't buy it yet. I need more evidence, but I wouldn't be surprised because I don't think they're just going there looking for giant monsters. I think that would be kind of,
Right.
weird. Unless they work for Monarch. If they work for Monarch, it makes perfect sense. Because Monarch was indoctrinated since after World War II. General Douglas MacArthur, or General Admiral Douglas MacArthur, he set up Monarch.
Okay.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they were like, we're looking for Godzilla. We think he's on this island. Oh, wait, what the hell are all these other things,
Right. But now, where does this leave us with Toho's Godzilla? I mean, do they plan... Was this just one movie, one shot, or were they planning on a series of Godzilla movies?
I gotta tell you, I'm hoping they're doing a series. Here's my thing. This Godzilla has to do well. Shin Gojira has to do well. If Shin Gojira doesn't do well, I've said this before, we're looking at a lot of problems.
Yeah.
We're looking at no more Toho Godzilla movies for a while. We're looking at Toho becoming increasingly more stubborn when it comes to negotiations with Legendary. And we're looking at the potential of a divide between ever seeing Godzilla movies in America ever again if Shin Gojira doesn't do well.
Really?
I personally believe that
What
full-heartedly.
is... I mean, all right, I don't know their culture or whatever, but they obviously gave the rights to make Godzilla movies to Legendary to make money. I mean,
yeah,
that's the whole point. So if something generates money for you, why would you hate it?
Yeah.
Like, I just... And again, this is all about ego. Okay?
Yes. Yep.
Ego, when you have an ego, and when corporations have egos, it destroys the corporations. I've worked for many a company that have had egos, and there was no rules that applied to them. When it came to the ego, they did crazy business models that would absolutely make no sense, spending all kinds of money to try to improve the product, going in wrong directions because they had to be number one. They had to wipe out competition. They couldn't just coexist. And if this is the way Toho is, that, all right, and it seems like a pattern because we had a Godzilla movie here before, Matthew Broderick. All right, while people didn't like that as Godzilla, it was successful financially, right?
Yes.
And they immediately made movies after them. Like they made, what did they make? Final Wars?
Well, let me just bring up, because I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
It is because of the 98 Godzilla movie that Toho is so unfaithful when it comes to American Godzilla movies. That movie, the stories behind it, the things that happened, the release, what happened in the movie, shook Toho's confidence in American cinemas handling Godzilla so much That's why it took 2014. This is why I
But
don't
it made
like
the money, though.
Yeah, it did, but this was the thing. The entire Millennium series
Yeah.
was made as a panic button hit because of that movie.
Okay.
Let me explain to you basically what happened with that, right? And Godzilla fans who kept up with the stuff know. When 98 dropped, they had a sequel planned. You can find the script online. Very good sequel script.
Mm-hmm.
Toho was like, absolutely not. You're done. You're not making any more.
Wow.
Give us the rights back now. You're not doing it, right?
How could they get the rights back, though?
Because they didn't give the full rights to it. They said you have permission to make the movie, but we still have the rights. So I shouldn't say give us the rights back. They said you're not doing another movie.
Oh, right? Wow.
Basically what happened then was they said this movie tarnished Godzilla's name so badly that we have to do a movie right now. They were not planning to do another movie until 2005. Was going to be the first new one. And then they said we have to make Godzilla 2000 Millennium right now. It has to be done. They did that. It was very successful in Japan. That's when they made Megaguirus, GMK against Mechagodzilla, Tokyo Plus, and then Final Wars. This is why I don't like complaining about the 2014 movie, because it took so much negotiation with Japan and Toho, rightfully so, where basically Legendary and them said, we will allow you to pick the producers. Let us do a Godzilla movie. We will do it right.
So they designed the model for us?
Toho, I believe one of the producers of the movie was the director of Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Okay.
I believe. And when the 2014 movie came out, that's why I was like, okay, good. We have a good negotiation table now with Toho. 2014 did it right. You know, this is
so they were happy with.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand in the early marketing of 2016 why Toho turned around and was like, you know what? We're going to make a better Godzilla than yours.
See, but this is what I don't understand. Like, they finally got what they wanted.
Right.
So, I mean, listen, I won't say no to a Toho Godzilla ever.
Me neither.
Okay? But the foundation for them making a movie, the purpose is all misguided and wrong. I mean, why don't you just make Godzilla movies just to make Godzilla movies? Why do you got to be like a competition or battle with yourself? I mean, so again, this is what I feel, okay? Without them having a monster in Shin Gojira, I feel, because people are so used to Godzilla fighting somebody, I don't think it's going to work. I really feel that it won't be as successful.
I have to disagree with you there.
Really?
Only because I would agree with you if the numbers were different.
Okay.
As far as I know, the two most the most liked Godzilla movie by Japanese and American fans, the two most are obviously the original Gojira and The Return of Godzilla 1984.
Okay.
Both of which Godzilla was alone.
Okay.
And those movies do the best. Now,
they were the most profitable, though?
I believe so, yeah. Is that going to happen with, I mean, barring 2014, because obviously that was probably the most profitable Godzilla movie ever, but, you know, barring that one, the solo movies do the best. Now, is that going to be the case with Shin Gojira? Maybe. However, I agree with you. I think that maybe Shin Gojira would benefit from a monster battle.
Right.
I think that having this Godzilla, because this is my one thing with Shin Gojira. He's going to fight the Japanese Self-Defense Force. He might even fight the United States military.
Right.
You can't necessarily show how visceral and vicious he is. Like, he can't fight a human. So, like, you can't show him, like, ripping things apart and stuff. So you lose that aspect of it. But I don't know. You know, I really don't know. You know, something else happened today with Shin Gojira, if you want me to move on to another topic or not. But
No, you can stick with Godzilla.
Yeah. There was a weird thing that came out today about Shin Gojira, and it had to do with the Bandai toys.
Okay.
Now, I have two theories about this, but the Bandai toys were marketed two specific things. They made two Shin Gojira figures, right?
Okay.
We don't know what they look like, but the names of the two Shin Gojira figures are Shin Gojira A and Shin Gojira B.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Now, immediately when that came out, people were like, oh my gosh, she actually does have multiple forms in the movie. Personally, I think that's two different poses for the figures.
Right.
That's my opinion. I think it's just the same Gojira, just in two different poses. However, if he's going to have another form, what is that going to look like?
Exactly.
So I don't know. I don't know. I'm excited for Shin Gojira, but I'm praying that it does well. Because if it doesn't do well, I foresee a very rough future when negotiating with Toho for other movies.
Right. Okay.
And I love Toho, but
I do too. I mean, here's the thing. I just want them to make Godzilla movies.
Me too.
I mean, I don't want them to be like, oh, ours is better, blah blah blah. Just shut up. Just make.
Yeah.
Just every year put out a Godzilla movie. I don't understand why people can't get their act together. If you want to make money, you put out Godzilla movies.
I agree. That's why like I said, when they came out with the we're making a 2016 movie and it's gonna be better than Legendary.
Shut up and make
Hollywood,
it.
How it's done. This one's gonna devour the 2014 Godzilla because you want to know what the like to me like the non sequitur of all this was. They made Shin Gojira like 30 feet taller than
That's just
Legendary.
stupid.
And I was like, there is absolutely no reason why you had to do that. There is no reason. You could have made him 350, 355, 360 feet tall.
Right.
Why is he 380 feet tall? I mean, I like it. I like bigger Godzillas, but like, why? Why?
Right.
There's no reason for it, unless there's like in the movie he's like that. But they did it just because they wanted him to be bigger than Legendary's Godzilla.
They did it for spite. Yeah. Is there any site that we could get our hands on that shows every single Godzilla movie that's made overseas, like in Japan?
Profitability?
Yeah.
Well, let me look actually. Because if you want to move on to something else while I look.
No, I mean, you know what it is when we're in a groove. I want to stick with it, and Godzilla is something I love talking about.
Yeah.
So I just want to stick with that because I really want to look at comparison from the first Godzilla to Final Wars, not counting the American ones. I just want to know what's the most profitable. That's us because you said it was Godzilla 1985, and I mean I think there was other ones, that was probably more profitable. But I just want to see.
Sure. Well, I'm pretty sure 2014 is the most profitable, but
probably, but besides the American one, like I said, American, like was, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla or stuff like that. I mean, were they, I kind of.
You want to know why it's difficult to find?
They don't give it up.
No, in Japan, they calculate their numbers differently when it comes to movies.
Why? What do they calculate?
I think they calculate the amount of tickets sold rather than the amount
money spent.
Because I know that there was a story that like when Star Wars: The Force Awakens came out, another movie sold more tickets than it, and they classified it as being more successful, I believe, than The Force Awakens at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yokai Watch or something like that.
It was a weird movie, right? There was a type of movie that came out, right?
Yeah, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then someone was like, "No, guys, they just calculate their things."
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, right.
I can't even find it.
I'm trying to just find something.
But not profitability wise. I know that in in the fan base, pretty much 84 and Gojira are the two most popular films.
All right, so let me see if I can go back and I could look up movies. Let me just see. I'm trying to.
Well, let me just. I'll give you an example here. Financial success. Godzilla '98. The budget was 130 million. It made 379 million. So it was very successful financially. Which is why they were planning, and they have a script for the sequel.
Right.
That was ready, and I gotta tell you, it wasn't bad. Like I was reading.
I liked it, but it's not Godzilla. To me, that was like, okay.
You know what was good about the sequel was he fought a monster in the sequel. It was like a giant bee creature, and it actually picks up like I think right after '98 ends.
Right.
It's like the next scene was Godzilla 2, and then you see Matthew Broderick's character like go back to Madison Square Garden, and he finds the egg. The egg hatches, and
right.
I think it followed the something happened where the Zilla baby didn't attack him for some reason.
Okay.
And it ran away, and like they said that there was a scene where like he's hiding the baby from the outside world because
Matthew Broderick's character would have been.
Yeah. He's hiding the baby because he knows it's the last one of its kind, and he wants to study it. And there's a scene where they have the original Zilla's body in like a warehouse, and all of these biologists are like climbing on it to try and like study it. Mm-hmm. And like they pull out one of its eyeballs and stuff, and he's like, I can't believe they're doing this. And then he goes back to where the baby is, and it escapes.
Oh.
And then the rest of the movie takes place in Australia, because that's where it goes. And there's other Zillas. It lays eggs, and then this bee creature emerges. And it kills all the babies except one, and then Zilla and that fight, and then finally they did it. Zilla uses an atomic blast from its mouth. It has a atomic blast, and I was like, oh, so you're a movie too late.
Right. Yeah.
But it never got made.
Wow. I mean, maybe that's a good thing in a way.
Yeah. I was also disappointed too. Like, the original script before the '98 movie was made for a movie that was supposed to come out in '94 was so good.
Mm.
It was called Godzilla versus the Griffin, and it was an American production. The one thing I didn't like about it, though, was they really changed Godzilla's origin.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
They had him made by, like, aliens.
Ugh.
And I was like, guys, you're losing your way. But everything else was amazing in the movie. Like, the monster that he fights, the Griffin, Stan Winston made the design of both Godzilla and the Griffin.
They have the design of it?
I can find
you
it.
You send that to me? Yeah.
So good. It's so good.
Why don't they use it, though? That's stupid.
They didn't do it because the movie, they said the budget would have been too much.
Okay.
And there's a whole script for that, too. I read that as well. It's so good. I loved it so much. I'm kind of disappointed that it was never made.
I don't understand why they just can't pick up where Destroyer left off.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that looks exactly the same almost.
I'm gonna send you this first. This isn't the Griffin, but this is another monster that was gonna show up. This was a human-sized monster that helped the Griffin form.
Okay.
I sent it to you on Facebook.
Okay. I just got it. I can screen share it, right?
I believe so, yeah.
There
it is. There's the Griffin.
So this guy is who's this guy? No, the one you sent me first.
That
would have been cool if they did that.
That was called a probe bat. And basically what happened was during the movie, after Godzilla is discovered, this probe, this extraterrestrial probe, crash lands onto the Earth. And basically what the probe does is its main function is to branch out and find local life forms native to the planet and bring them back into the probe, and it mutates them and turns them into things like this.
Oh.
What these things then do is find other life forms that are larger and brings them back to the probe, where it can form a massive kaiju-sized creature.
Right.
Basically, I'll send you this. There's a watermark on this picture. You think that's a problem? Or?
Let me look at it first.
All right.
Because that might be.
All right. I'll try to find another picture, but
let me see what it says, and then I'll tell you.
All right. But basically, what these probe bats would do, like I said, they'd find bigger life forms, bring them back, and then they would.
Yeah, I can't put that one up, but that looks awesome.
All right. I'll try to. Yeah, Stan Winston made that design. I could also show you. He designed Godzilla. For the
that
movie.
Looks really good, though.
I know, right?
That looks really cool. That thing.
Well, I can't even use that.
It looks like a part panther.
That's what it was.
A panther?
It was part panther, part bat. No, it was part mountain lion, part bat. I think it was part human too.
Well, you know what? No, I think we could show it because
we're
not showing video.
This is coming from. Excuse me. This is coming from sci-fi.com.
Yeah, right. So just sci-fi.com, right? Okay. Yeah.
Stan Winston made this design. I believe it was in his collection as well. It's unbelievable. I mean,
this is sci-fi-japan.com?
Yeah. Great website. Definitely check them out.
Yeah.
Beautiful freaking design. And
look at that thing. That thing is awesome.
Yeah. And I have the design for Godzilla.
Nobody's allowed to use that?
Not as far as I know.
I would put that in that would be fantastic.
That would be great in a movie.
That would be, you know what, he needs villains that, I could see Godzilla ripping the wings off and he just walking on his legs.
Dude, the way Godzilla kills this thing is unbelievable.
Oh, damn.
And what I just sent you is Stan Winston's design for Godzilla.
Okay. Let me just see. That looks cool too, though.
Yeah. It's very reptile.
I mean, I don't know about the face, but...
Yeah.
Let me just... I sent you a video the other day. Did you see it?
Yes, that marine iguana is amazing.
That looks like Godzilla, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. All right. Let me see this. This is... Now, who created this now?
Stan Winston created this one, too.
Wow. That looks cool, too. Although the spikes are not big enough, though, but... Yeah. That's interesting.
This Godzilla was going to be about 250 feet tall. I think 247 was the size. And basically what had happened was they discovered this Godzilla in the Arctic. They believe they discovered, the scientists believe that they've discovered a massive dinosaur. And they find it, and it's in this like you know when babies are born,
right?
They're in the womb. They're in the, like amniotic sac or sac or whatever. That's what Godzilla was in. He was in something like that, except this one was radioactive.
Oh.
And basically, what happens later on is they discover this when they find Godzilla, and later on they find something else. This little probe goes into this guy's neck, and it starts to morph him almost into an alien kind of thing. And these people start talking to it, and they're like, "Were you going to invade the planet?" And it goes, "No, we were trying to save your planet."
Oh.
So, because the aliens that sent the probe that made the Griffin wanted to take over the Earth, and this other alien race that made Godzilla said, "We used the DNA of the creatures that were on your planet at the time, which was dinosaurs.
Right.
And we created our own monster out of your Earth elements and whatnot, and we left it here for you in case these other aliens try to do what they're doing. Now they're here. You need him.
Right.
He can fight these things.
And he won't go against the people or anything, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he does
that.
like accidentally, and there's a great fight scene. The Navy tries to fight him by Alcatraz Island, and oh man, he messes them up.
Wow.
He messes them up badly, and he had his thermonuclear breath and whatnot. It was ionized oxygen.
Okay.
He fired, but it was still radioactive. And what was cool about it was it didn't come from like his throat. The beam formed in his mouth, and then it just fired from his mouth. So it didn't look like he was like throwing it up. It would just like form at the base of his mouth, and then it would just explode out of his mouth in a concentrated beam. There's a graphic novel of it that an artist did because he loved the script so much.
Right.
And they're trying to get it published, I believe.
What are they doing with the comics now? They had something like Godzilla Goes to Hell and all that crap. What is that about?
that ended in an amazing way. He never I don't want to I guess
you could deal with it. I'm not reading that.
It's not a very good comic, but it's so good. I can't even say it's not a good comic because I liked it, but overall it's not really a great comic. But basically, it starts out Godzilla arrives in hell. You never know how, and it's actually hell. Like hell.
Okay.
And for anybody who's read the Bible, at the gates of hell, it says abandon all hope ye who enter here. Right. And Godzilla sees this, and it's in giant letters, and he just blows it up. Right. So he's basically going through the different levels of hell, and throughout
just destroying everything.
Right. Throughout the comics, he's getting deeper into hell. Right. And there's one where he's fighting both Ghidorah and Destroyer.
In hell.
They all keep killing each other. And then
Godzilla dies too?
Yeah, but he doesn't actually though. He realizes, he's like, wait a minute, this isn't how this works.
Right.
So he realizes that this is hell or the devil playing tricks with his mind.
Right.
He leaves, right? And in I think it was the third issue, all these demons try to attack him and eat him and stuff.
So he leaves hell.
He gets out of hell at the end of the comic. He escapes.
Hell with this.
Yeah.
But he defeat the devil, or he just no?
He never fights the devil, but God appears to him.
What?
And you know how they say God appears differently to everybody?
Yeah.
Well, to Godzilla, he appears as a giant mountain made up of every monster he's ever fought.
Uh-huh.
And God's like, you're not supposed to be here. So you can come to heaven, but you have to agree to join the army of heaven or whatnot. And Godzilla's just kind of I don't really know what that is.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna kind of do what I do.
Wait, he talks?
No, he doesn't talk, but basically he's just
Does he shoot
whatever
the blast at God or something
No, God is basically okay, if you're not gonna do that, then you have to stay here, and he leaves him here. I was happy about because I don't really want to see Godzilla fight God. I really don't. That would be pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, long story short, they tell you how he gets to hell at the end of the comic book. He dies fighting Space Godzilla. They both kill each other. In the real world, in the living world, they kill each other, and he arrives in hell. And he dies. And then at the end of the comic, he escapes hell and he returns to the world of the living.
They're get out of here, probably.
Yeah, because he wrecks hell.
Okay.
I don't know how to make that sound less weird, but hell gets destroyed.
That's just certain things.
It's a stupid ass comic, but it's fun to read, man.
Right. Somebody's a fan of Jason X, I guess, with Godzilla.
The best comic I read was Godzilla Rulers of Earth, hands down.
Why can't they do Godzilla Titans?
Oh, I know.
You know what I saw today? I saw the pop. What do they call that? The Funko Pop?
The pop figures, yeah.
There was a big Godzilla one, $20.
Yep.
And then there was another one, it was $13.99, and I'm like, oh, I want it, but then I can't in the budget this week. And I'm like, I was really going for Doctor Who stuff because I was like, all right, the anniversary, Real Wings cast. But nobody had the damn Titans that I wanted. And I'm like, oh.
Really?
Yeah, I went into Midtown, and I wanted the newest set, and there's nothing. And I'm like, you don't have any Titans? And they did have the ones that I already have already. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we, a shortage of Titans all of a sudden? So.
Man, when there's no Doctor Who, there's really no Doctor
Well, this is the scary thing. I mean, not that I want to deviate from the Godzilla chat, but I mean, I'm asking them for stuff, and it's like nobody knows what I'm talking about, and that's starting to scare me. That I'm in a comic book store and nobody knows what I'm talking about, and I'm like, I mean, I maybe they're not Doctor Who fans. It's not wrong with that, I guess, because you don't have to be fans of everything, but they didn't even know what Titans were. I'm like, yeah. You have Doctor Who Titans? Oh, yeah, over there with the comics. I'm like, it's not a comic. Titan toys. Oh, yeah, upstairs. I'm like, no, it's not an action figure. Titans. So then I found it myself. I'm like, look, see Titans? Oh, yeah, okay. No, that's all we have. I'm like, So I kind of was like, all right, I'm not going to.
You know what?
I kind of felt defeated there.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said, it's like, no, only what's out. You know, what really bothers me is that there are probably some in the back.
Right. There's probably cases that they don't understand. Like, I mean, when I was in retail, it was a lot different. Mm-hmm. I would bring everything out for the people and sell it, Mm-hmm. These people it's not their company. They just work there. So it's like, oh, yeah, I don't really feel like going carrying boxes out of the back unless it's stock time. It's like, I would just bring stuff out. Like, here you go. Even if there's no room, all right, but.
Well, you worked in retail too. I mean, I haven't worked in retail, so I don't really know how it works. But what drives me up the wall as a customer is when a company like Hasbro or Bandai or Nintendo or something will say it's coming out September 13th.
And it doesn't.
Go to the store. Oh, we didn't put it out yet. What do you mean you didn't put it out yet?
Well, you know what it is? When we used to unload stuff, we used to unload the truck, get it in the back room, right? And then we were like, all right, who's putting out preschool? My thing was, if I'm going to put anything out, I want to put out action figures,
Sure.
So when I did the trucks, I made everybody put out the action figures first, So we get that out of the way, and then, all right, let's do the preschool, and let's do the dolls, and But the main thing that made money was the action figures. That was like the hot thing, because people would come in, like you wouldn't see a whole flood of people coming in for that preschool toy. So, you put out the most popular stuff. So I would go and put out, besides the Elmo and everything, I would put, let's get the action figures out. So I was a merchandiser, so I loved redoing the action figure art, and I would do 4-foot, 8-foot sections. I mean, when Spider-Man movies came out, I made the whole front. I made they were only allowed to do, I think, 4 feet or 8 feet of Spider-Man, and I did a whole 16-foot wall. I made the whole thing. I should have took pictures. I don't know why I didn't. When Godzilla came out, I actually have the picture. I put Godzilla all in the front. It was just Godzilla toys. There was no movie, nothing. And I put all that out, and I took a picture. I forgot I took a picture in front of them because we had the yo-yo champions of Hawaii or whatever, or the world. I don't know, that for some reason my company had flew them out to all the.
There are yo-yo champions? What?
Yes, there's yo-yo. Yes, there's yo-yo champions of the world. So my company had flew them out here to show off the newest Yomega yo-yos, which I was into yo-yos too. So so I took a picture with them, and Godzilla's in the back.
Yes.
And I'm like, all over. Godzilla's everywhere. And I'm like, I think there was a big mecha. I don't know why I didn't buy that stuff. I was like, oh, that stuff is so damn cool. But yeah, when the King Kong movie came out, I made a huge section in the front of the store. Like before there was planograms, we got to deviate sometimes, do our own thing. And I would experiment in my store and say, all right, you know what, I bet you this will sell if I put it there. Because what happens is, for some reason, if you move stuff around, people may not see it on the left side. They may see it on the right side. It's like whatever their visual, whatever they go to look at first, their eye looks at first, they may not see it there. So just by moving stuff around, I would have the wrestlers in the front because I was a big wrestling fan. So I was like, I wouldn't even put it in the aisle. I put the whole thing in the front, Star Wars, all that stuff. So, but then they got these stupid planograms that you tried to do that really didn't fit what was selling because they really couldn't tell. When they made these planograms up months ago.
Yeah.
So I would do that stuff when we were allowed to, and it was fun. And the front looked beautiful. I had Spider-Man everywhere. It was ridiculous.
Speaking of those Spider-Man figures, the toys that came out from the first movie, I loved those. But then they just got worse.
Yeah. I got pictures. I had, when I was like a teenager,
Yeah.
I had my whole wall. I had figures all over my wall in my room when I lived with my parents. And I had a whole side of the wall with Star Trek The Next Generation,
Deep
Space Nine, Voyager, ridiculous. I had another part was Marvel section, and it had the Marvel Universe in 1992, and then they had Spider-Man, the animated series, and then they came out with the Spider-Man figures that were, what was it called? That they were like the Migos.
Oh, okay.
And the Legend, it was like in a book.
Yeah.
I bought I was a nut. I bought 3 of each with the Star Wars things that came out when they put out Star Wars Special Edition in the theater.
Oh, yeah, yep.
I bought cases of these figures. And when my kids were born, and they were young enough to understand, I just let them open it. I was like, what am I going to do? And I let them open it. There's all these figures in them. But I had spent, I think it was that, I got all the exclusives. I got the Han and Luke and Tauntaun, and I bought the friggin', the Han, there was the Han and Luke exclusive. Then it was Han on Tauntaun. And it was like this. You remember what it was like, right? It was like this big.
I actually don't think I've ever seen that.
Really? I still have.
Yeah, because I was born in '93, so I didn't really get into Star Wars until my grandfather showed. I got into all this stuff. All my friends were talking about all these other things.
Right.
You guys ever see Terminator? That's a great movie, and they're like, "We're not allowed to watch that." And I was like, "Why? What's the big deal?"
Oh, so you were so this thing was literally it was so big that I bought it. It was ridiculous. I have it in the closet actually. Believe it or not,
I have it. That's great.
Believe it or not, I still have. It's buried, but I still have my He-Man, Thundercats. I got my He-Man figures in a box.
Oh wow!
And I got my Thundercats. The kids took all my Godzilla stuff because, when they were born, I bought everything. I had stuff shipped from overseas.
Oh,
I had the Godzilla plush. I had the Godzilla figures. I spent a friggin' fortune because they were little and they were into it. Because it was my fault. I got them into it, and I'm like, this is great. So they basically liked everything I liked. So they're like, Dad, could you get that for me? I'm like, but it's only in Japan. They're like, and they didn't know it was really expensive, but I was like, all right. And I actually had it shipped. It was all this stuff. And I was like a kid, I'm like a kid too. I'm like, yeah, I got it. All right, But the kids had a box and a half of, they were in phases. Like Joe was in his wrestling phase.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Bought him every single figure that came out, Then he got out of that phase. And then I got, Godzilla phase and then the superhero phase. And then it was this Jimmy Neutron phase. And then all these other things, Blue Clues when they were little, but I just hooked them up. It was and we all played my video because I was a video gamer too,
Yeah.
So it's great that when you have kids and you show them all the stuff that you like and they like it too. It's really awesome. I mean, I got them started with Doctor Who very young too, but they really couldn't understand it. They got into it when Series 1 started,
sure.
And Joe really, and when Godzilla died. Joe was little. He was really upset in Destroyer.
Oh, yeah.
He was massively upset about that. He was also mad about the Doctor dying because he didn't know he could regenerate.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
I was pissed, too. When I was watching Godzilla vs. Destroyer for the first time.
The score was fantastic, too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm watching this and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah, I remember I think I was in 5th grade. My parents ordered the cassette tape for me. From it was in a Reader's Digest catalog, right? And my mom was like, "Oh, have you ever seen that one?" I was like, "No." I was like, "All right, we'll order for you." It was only $7 or something. So I got it. I came home from school one day and they had it set up on they had the cassette on the kitchen table. And I walked up to it and it was the first time I'd ever seen Burning Godzilla.
Mm.
And he's on the cover. And I'm like, why does he look like that?
Right.
That's amazing because my favorite color is orange.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, why does he look like that? That's great. So I'm watching the movie. I'm into it. I'm like, okay, they're saying he's going to die, but he's going to get out of this somehow.
Right.
And then he died. And I was like, what? And I didn't realize what happened at the end with Junior. I didn't know what happened. I was like, what's going on?
I knew. I was like, oh, it went to the baby. And
I was like, what's going on? And then I avoided watching that movie because I was like, I don't want to see him die. Years later, when I was like 13, I was reading something online and I was like, oh, that's what happened. And then I watched it again and I was like, okay.
So you were born in the 90s?
Yeah, I was born in 93, yeah.
Oh, okay. Joe was born in 98.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so when he saw that, like afterwards, when he was a little older to understand, I was like, look, no, look, just stay. He was like, upset. He was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, look, he's alive, see, It's like, oh, okay. And like, not that you have to explain it, but it's like, there it is, That's all I say, It's like,
did you ever see the alternate ending to Godzilla vs. Destroyer?
No.
Oh, it's so much better.
Really?
Yeah. So much better. Like, you know how the military spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, but the military winds up destroying Destroyer. In the normal ending of the movie, Destroyer gets shot down by the military. They destroy his wings and he falls and he collapses in on himself and he blows up, which is lame.
Oh, all right.
In the alternate ending, as Godzilla's melting down, he's still fighting Destroyer, right? And what happens is Destroyer realizes what's happening, so he tries to get away. And Godzilla grabs him by the horn and by his one of his ear things, right? And he holds him close to his chest where his core is melting.
Yeah.
And he melts down while holding on to Destroyer, and Destroyer melts down with him.
That's awesome.
And you hear Destroyer screaming in the background, and then you just see Godzilla melt down. And then at the end of the movie, Junior's in the background, he was in. And I was sitting there like, why didn't they go with this?
Let me tell you something. One of my favorite moments in Godzilla is when he outsmarted Orca from 2000.
Yes.
And he made him swallow by his head.
Yes.
And the thing is oh yeah, I'm eating him, and then he's just all of a sudden you see and you see Orca's eyes are
yeah, I love that.
That was my favorite thing. That was one of the whoever decided to create that, decided that idea.
Yeah,
that was the funniest, greatest thing you could possibly do.
It's great.
Destroyed that thing. The thing was just the legs were just there. It was great. Yeah. I was like, oh my god.
I mean, there are so many great scenes, but there's a great scene in. Oh my gosh, I just thought of two of them. But in Godzilla vs. Megaguirus, which is the movie right after Godzilla 2000,
yeah,
Megaguirus can fly at supersonic speeds. So throughout the whole time she's fighting him, she's out so much faster that he can't do anything. And she has this stinger that she keeps injecting him with and absorbing his radiation and using it against him.
Right.
There's a scene where he grabs her tail and he shoves it into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then he backs up, and I can't believe I'm about to say this. He does a Godzilla body slam. He jumps in the air, and he just lands on Megaguirus. It's the funniest thing. He just jumps up, and
I used to love when
he on Megaguirus' face, and she's like, oh no, and then body slam.
I used to love when he had the personality. Where he's like, eh. He used to jump up like this with his legs up this way and his legs up this way. When he was somehow, I don't know how he flew with his tail. I don't know if they ever could explain that. He went across like that. Remember that?
Yeah. He drop kicks. That was Megalon. Yeah, he dropped.
I'm like,
Megalon.
what? How did he do that?
And I want to know how they did that.
Basically, body slammed. He picked them up and he body slammed the monsters, yeah. And it was just and I just loved that. He would go he would go to Jaguar, and then it was whatever.
Yeah.
That's the way they would talk. It's like you would like yell at Megalon and Gigan, and Gigan, would be
Yeah. I think some of the best scenes were in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, where like Godzilla's holding Ghidorah's tails, and like Rodan starts like talking to the Mothra larva, and he's like, "Get on my back, we'll get him from the air." And she like starts spraying Ghidorah with her.
There was the remember the movie, the Godzilla movie, where they found a way to hear what they were talking about.
Yes.
And Godzilla was talking. He's like, Anguirus is like talking.
That was in versus Gigan. Yeah.
Jesus.
I remember watching that, and I was as a kid, I was like, "Am I on drugs?
Yeah.
Like, is this really happening?"
Oh my God. I loved the Megalon. Not Megalon. Well, yeah, I loved that, but I loved when he first fought Mechagodzilla and was like looking like Godzilla.
Oh yeah.
And then you start to see the thing, and he's spinning around, and he's like trying to touch him, and things like, I hurt my hands. Whatever. That was great.
I love when he twists Mechagodzilla's head off at the end.
Oh, fantastic. I loved that. But I loved Megalon. I'm surprised Megalon only appeared once, right?
Yeah, and I always thought that there was so much potential. Like they could redesign him or something, and he'd be great.
Yeah. Was he an alien too? Because
he was going to be, but he's not actually.
Gigan was a bounty hunter.
Yes.
Like I would love to see in space those creatures.
Yeah.
Because I would think they should do a movie where like the monsters are from different planets.
Oh yeah.
And they like have a thing where they're intelligent and they're like, oh, we need to go there because that's where the fight is.
Yeah.
And just go after Godzilla, like fight him.
In what was it? In Godzilla Unleashed, the video game. That's actually the plot of the game.
Oh, the last one?
This alien race invades, and they've got Ghidorah, Megalon, Orga, and two other monsters. And then at the end of the movie, or at the end of the game, you find out that the secret villain who set all of it up was Space Godzilla.
Oh.
And it was like, oh shit! Like,
but wasn't like Ghidorah an alien? Like was Monster Zero? Was it like?
Yeah, in the Showa series and the Millennium series, in Final Wars, he was an alien. In the Heisei series, he was a product of time travel. And in GMK, which is part of the Millennium series, he was an ancient dragon.
Okay, so the original series was an ancient dragon.
No. In the Showa series, he was an alien, which is
in the original
70s.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
He was an alien in those. Yeah.
I remember when they did Mecha Ghidorah.
That was the Heisei series.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
But man, I love those movies, man. I wish they could just pop them out. I don't know the political nonsense that they do now. It's like, come on, just pop them out. I mean, to me, it's like the kid in me, but I also know from the financial aspect, there's so much money to be made if they just put their effing egos away.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it for fun. Why can't you have fun with it? Why does it have to be like a, I mean, to me, I would have loved to see Mechagodzilla come back and do. I don't understand. I just don't understand why they couldn't make it every year. I mean, what are these people doing? They're making these massive movies that are like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, just make some Godzilla movies.
I mean, there's enough directors. You could have a different director do one each year. I mean, honestly, I'm a little biased, but I would love to see that.
See, I like, I'm also a fan of the Full Moon Pictures, Full Moon Entertainment movies, like the Puppet Master, like Blade.
Oh, yeah.
And I always said, like, why can't we have more? Why can't we have more? Why can't we have more? And then you look into it, and it's like, all right, well, they're not, they fan-funded, I guess. They have, like, fans paying for it to make the movies. I always said, like, man, if I had money, like, if these books ever, I would, like, start doing projects like that. And I want to see a Puppet Master movie. Why not? I'll design some of them. It's like crazy. I would love to be a part of that and just make the movies that I like, Just
well, it's funny, did you know Puppet Master has a comic book series?
I heard of that, but I know that the new one is coming out in August.
Yeah.
That's like one of the first things I think Sharon bought me for Christmas when it was first going out. They had it was Puppet Master 9 or 10 or whatever. No, what are we up to now? 11? Yeah. So even the kids bought me the box set or something, the Puppet Master thing. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I know from like Toho's point of view, like the reason that they haven't made a movie since Final Wars is because Final Wars did really bad. It did really badly at the box office.
So what? I mean, a lot of times there are movies like, say, Star Trek, certain movies, they're not too good.
Yeah.
And the company makes the executive decision that we can't go out on a low note. It's not an ego. It's just like, let's just do it right for the fans. And then they throw money and make a movie, and then it does so well that this is how it's going to make more. And that's what they did with Star Trek V did horrible. And they says, nah, we got to go out on a good note. And then they did Undiscovered Country. And then, of course, Next Generation, they made movies for that. Mm-hmm. And that's where you go. I mean, Into Darkness to them was considered a failure. And they says, nah, we can't go out like that. Let's just – and then because they saw the movie, how it was made, they says, you know what, we got a winner here. We're signing them for another year, which we'll be the judge of that, I guess, if Star Trek Beyond is fantastic. I mean, the first trailer was kind of like, That
first trailer was hilarious.
I mean,
and not in a good way.
Yeah, I know. So, well, let me tell you something. Simon Pegg, they were all pissed off about it.
Yeah.
I would not do that for the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I remember seeing it before The Force Awakens, and I was just like, I know I'm not a Star Trek fan.
Right.
What the hell is going on? Like, what?
See, the thing, the problem, I think, each person tries to bring their own nuance to it.
Yeah.
Like, from my perspective, right, this is like Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, right? / Star Trek 4. If you remember Star Trek 3, the Enterprise blew up, and then they had to use a Klingon ship. And in 4, they were on a Klingon ship, right? They didn't have the Enterprise. This is like that without searching for Spock. I mean, and without saving the whales. Like, they literally, their ship gets destroyed, and it's just them, which, how could you be called Star Trek if you're not trekking through the stars without a spaceship? It's like, come on. Now you're like stuck on a planet fighting an alien race. You kind of get boring. I mean, I really hope that's not what the case is, but it looks like it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I'm used to, the Enterprise you have to have it where the Enterprise doesn't get destroyed, I mean, once in a while, if it's going to get destroyed, then they go back and, they made us a new one, Yeah. But, like, that's the whole thing. Like, you can't have your ship get destroyed when you just start. That's what makes no sense to me. Like, I would look at the overall picture as not 3 movies. I would look like, say, 9, and say, all right, we can't have, this is the thing, we got to do movies and the ship can't get destroyed, They destroy the ship in the 3rd movie. It's like, oh, I don't know. We'll see how it does, though. But
I always thought the Enterprise was something that you don't like. You don't just.
Right. That's the whole concept of the show, is traveling throughout space with the spaceship. So you don't destroy the ship, basically.
I mean, I know I'm not a fan or anything, but like,
it's common sense.
Don't get rid of that. It's like getting rid of Superman's cape. Like, don't get
right. Like, I saw that in a Fantastic Four comic, and Superman gave Franklin Richards his cape, and I'm like, no, Superman wouldn't do that.
Yeah, unless he's got another one.
No, it's not like it grows. The person that sewed it together on Krypton still alive to make another one. I mean, no, not really. So, I just no. Anywho, I guess that's it for the Everything Show. People are sleeping tonight, man. I try to reach out to everybody. Nobody's around. It's a Saturday night. People are partying, I guess, like rock stars. Well, I don't know if we'll do another one. We'll see. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now.